Welcome back to the garage. Today, talking about Maquis. This is a solo-only game that from Side Room Games that I can't actually remember how I came across this. I know that I totally missed the initial run, and not like Root, like the last review, if you've seen that, where I opted out of Root. I saw it, I looked at it, it didn't think it seemed interesting to me. Boy, was I wrong. I just didn't know about this one at all. I didn't know any of Side Room Games' work, and I think when I was starting to get into the solo game scene, this game came up from time to time and people would talk about it, and I looked into it and it was out of print, so I did the thing, put your email in, and expect to never hear anything about it, but I did. So I got in on the second printing of it. It's a really nice production. It's a very small box, very small board space, but just all the components are really great. Looks great on the table, is easy to set up, tear down, and all that. So let's dive right into the actual review part. So again, the three categories are meat bag clarity. How easy or not easy is it for the meat bag, whoever you may be as the meat bag, to play it, to keep the rules in your head? Is it or is it not a good way to learn the rules for multiplayer, which for me is one of the reasons to play solo games, to not only to have a good time, but also to learn the game more fully for the next time it hits the table with other people, so I can be a better teacher. And last but not least, obviously, overall solo experience. So first up, meat bag clarity. On a scale from, again, 2 thumbs down to 2 thumbs up, I'm going to give this one a range of 1 to 2 thumbs up. From an actual gameplay perspective, incredibly simple, streamlined, enjoyable, very few issues to run into. The little reminder card gives you everything you need to know. It's very easy to understand. Double layered card here to track morale and soldier and stuff like that, just nice. The patrol cards, which are the brain of the game in terms of where the milice, I'm really sorry. I'm very bad at print. I believe I looked up it as milice. Essentially the police that the Nazis have kind of strong-armed into doing their bidding, where they and the soldiers are going to go, and you simply, you put a guy down, and then you draw a card, and you put a milice at the topmost location. So if you have a guy at the grocer, they'd go to Pont du Nord. And if there's someone at all 3 of those locations, they go back to the top, and as soon as they hit a spot with a resistance token instead of a milice or a soldier, they arrest them. The reason I'm giving it a range from 1 to 2 thumbs up, the missions, some are 1 star, some are 2 stars. For the most part, they make a lot of sense, but some of them, at least I had a little bit of a hard time knowing exactly what they were getting at. But that said, I've never had an issue that hasn't been solved by a 5-minute, not even that, a 1-minute look on google.com. Just go Maquis and then the name of the mission, and usually there's a BGG forum where people have talked about it. So not really that big of a deal. Definitely not a deal breaker. Leaning more towards a 2 thumbs up, but just so there is a heads up for you. I did run into a couple issues with that, but very, very minor. Next up, good way or not good way to learn the rules for multiplayer. Next up, is this or is this not a good way to learn the rules for multiplayer? And obviously doesn't apply. This is solo only. I mean, I suppose you could have someone sit down with you and you could brainstorm what you want to do, but unless it's like a kid or a friend or a family member who really isn't into games and just kind of wants to feel like they're part of it, this would not be a fun, like, joint exercise. So there really isn't any multiplayer to speak of, so let's move on. So the last category, overall solo experience, is absolutely 2 thumbs up. Just to allay any fears that anyone who's interested in the channel but afraid that I might just be saying everything is 2 thumbs up. I undoubtedly will give other ratings for the overall experience. It's just that Root and Maquis are both fantastic. So overall, it's just a fantastic package. I talked about how small of a footprint it has. It expands a little bit on the table, but I mean, the box is just so small and easy to throw into a backpack. If you're going on a trip and you feel like you're going to have table space at some point and a little bit of time, the missions in the game, these things add so much. The great part about them is they're not just telling you, oh, you need to get this type of resource and bring it here. They actually give you certain days where you need to complete the mission on the timeline. Some of them change the rules of the game, like destroying the bridges is one example where you have to destroy 2 bridges, which are 2 of the 3 ways to get across the river into the city. So once you've completed that mission, you only have 1 way to get into like the downtown area of the city. And in that teeny little rule adjustment, it completely changes this otherwise bite-sized and adorable map. In this little space, they've managed to pack in so much game. I mean, and part of that are these 3 spare rooms that you have here, here, and here that you have to pay money. And you get to choose one of these 6 rooms to put on there. Some of them are just better versions of what you can find on the board. So for instance, you can get 1 food at the grocer and 1 medicine at the doctor. But if you pay to get the smuggler, for 1 action, you can get either 3 medicine or 3 food. I've actually never used this one. That one's crazy. This one lets you up your morale for not having to pay anything for it. This one adds a second safe house in the game. So if you want, a little foothold in the downtown area, you can pay to put a safe house there, because the whole point of the game is you need to get back to a safe house to bring your the resources and the tasks you've completed. Some of them stay completed even if you get pinched by the cops, but most of the time you're really looking to get those guys back. So it's easy to think, oh, I'm just going to make a line of people going into the city, so there's always going to be a caravan that makes it back to the safe house. But the rub comes in that there's going to be a turn where you're just not going to have the luxury of being able to do that. You're going to have to send someone out who doesn't have a pathway back to the safe house, and you just have to hope that the police don't block that way back or have a weapon to fight your way back. Because if they get arrested, that person is gone forever. There's no amount of anti-Nazi poetry that you can read at the cafe that's going to get another person. So it's this really tight, very tense game on this really small map that changes based on what missions you have. Some of the spots are just spots. Pont l'Evêque is just a foothold into the downtown area, but there are some missions that actually make those spots action spaces where they're otherwise not at all, which again just expands this world into this really rich experience that plays quickly, is incredibly brutal and heartless and difficult. But when you succeed, it feels amazing. Even if it's just 2 1-star missions, you still feel like you've helped the resistance kind of fight back this occupying force. It's a really rewarding experience. What's more, the game has been out of print again for a while. It is available for print and play, but also there is an app that you can get. There has also been notification that not only is there going to be another reprint of the game, but they are looking at making a expansion for it as well. I don't really know what is entailed in the expansion or when it's happening, but it's a great time to, if you already have the game, to get it off the shelf, play it some more in anticipation of hopefully some new missions, some new safe house things to put onto the board. And if you've looked at the game and been bummed out that there haven't been copies for you to buy, this may be a good time to get over to Side Room Games, put your email into their little let me know, so that you are on that mailing when that happens, whenever it may be. So with that, it's a great game. I am super thrilled that I heard about it, that I put my email into the list, that I acted on it, and every time it hits the table, I enjoy it, even though I have only won the game once out of over a dozen playings. So I'm not a great player at the game, but I'm still having a lot of fun. The one ding I will give it, though, is because the game is so small, this box is such a pain to get open. It makes you do that thing that's terrible where you have to like wedge your fingers into the side and you feel like you're just like peeling back fingernails on it. Why am I describing this? Anyways, it's a great game. It's small. It plays quickly. The game, it's like a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside because of all the different rules changes and things. So Maquis, it's awesome. Go play it. You will not be disappointed. See you next time.